to really use your discernment on whether or not do I actually need to go to the hospital right now, or is this a spiritual intuitive event? Is this me or is this outside of me? The Clair Senses, the Clair Senses, intuitively gaining information through the senses of your body. I'm going to run through the senses, the Clair Senses. I have definitions written down here, and then I'm going to give you some examples of these clairs and how I've used them in my day-to-day life, but also like in my paranormal field. I like to enhance my intuitive abilities viewing them from the physical senses because it is a different way to receive information, and I am a paranormal investigator who does have a ton of equipment, but I love seeing what comes through intuitively and kind of just like testing the waters of my own intuition. And it's something that has came so naturally to me now that in my day-to-day life, not just when I'm paranormal investigating, I am exploring my intuition and my intuitive capabilities. I always grew up thinking that what if I was psychic? And it's like, okay, yeah, we're all psychic and it's like a muscle. And if you learn how to train that muscle, just like working out a physical muscle in your body, it's like you're getting spiritually ripped. It's true. It just takes a lot longer, I feel. And I'm sitting here trying to test my intuition at basically almost every part of the day. But when I'm at a paranormal investigation, I'm at a haunted location, I tap into this like gateway where I'm able to receive information super quickly from the spiritual realm. Things that I wouldn't know. I wouldn't know this information. I'm going to give you some examples of how I've experienced these things and how I use them in my day to day life, how I use them paranormal investigating, talking to spirits. But I also want to preface that for me, at least, I have a couple strong ones. And it's not that you can certainly try and exercise all of your different clairs, your different clair senses. Find which ones speak to you the most and focus on those first if you've never done this before. We're going to start off with clairvoyance. That's the one everyone talks about. When everybody hears about the clairs, they hear about clairvoyance, I feel. Clairvoyance is when you're receiving visions, premonitions, mental images in your head. It's often called clear seeing. This one, I feel for myself, I do have visions sometimes. They don't come as strongly. I will have to look if dreams fall under this category because I do have prophetic dreams, but I'm gonna have to let me look into that. I'll insert a little video of me speaking on this. Sometimes when I enter into a haunted location, I will have images pop up in my head, and it's honestly sometimes a little frustrating because this isn't my strong suit, I don't think, but I will literally see like objects. Imagine you're playing a game of Clue and it's like, here's the murder weapon. That's what I'm seeing in my head sometimes. It's like literally like just a blank slate, and then all of a sudden like I'll see a shovel. I'd be like, what in the world is this? Why are you showing me a shovel? And then I'll find out someone got hit, over the head with a shovel at this haunted location. And I'm like, oh, that's just an example. That didn't actually happen, but that's an example of like what could be seen. Clairaudience is our next one. Clairaudience, clear hearing, messages from the spirit world. So, how this comes through is you'll hear like a voice, or I often hear like a whisper. Here's another one: when you're falling asleep, there's this thing called hypnagogia. I think I'm saying that right. This is editing Amber here. It's hypnagogia. Hypnagogia. Hypnagog. Oh my god. See, I can barely even say it right now. The transition between falling asleep and being awake. So when you're falling asleep and you hear voices, this is a form of clairaudience. You are hearing the voices through someone in the spiritual realm. This may be a strong suit for you if you hear that often. I do. When I'm falling asleep, I have to literally say out loud, like, hey guys, I know you want to talk to me, but like, please, I'm trying to sleep. I kid you not. Like, I have to now talking with so many different spirits and like communicating with the afterlife. you got to set some firm boundaries. And so, when specifically for them trying to talk to me, if I'm in a haunted location and I'm hearing, like, you literally hear a freaking party of people before you're falling asleep, like you're in and out of sleep and you keep getting woken up because you hear voices and nobody's there. That's that you're in the in between state, in the in between realm of being awake and being in the astral. Another example, I guess I have a lot of examples for clairaudience. Something that happened to me recently was I was working with a past friend trying to communicate with a past loved one. And the moment that this friend reached out to me, I heard running water. I literally heard running water, and I knew it wasn't like in my house. I even checked. I was like, just be sure. But I heard running water, and I asked him, like, "Hey, what's up with this running water? Does it have to do with anything about this past loved one?" We did end up finding out there was a sink running during the time of this past loved one's death. And I didn't know that. I never have met this person. And at the time, my friend didn't even know that. And a couple weeks later, after the passing, found out more information and was like, the sink was left on for hours after his loved one passed away. And I was the one who said, "Hey, why do I hear like a sink running?" It's crazy, I know. Just crazy things you can get when you're tapped in like that. Just like you can't quite figure it out, but sometimes it just comes all together. You're like, okay, that's what I was receiving. That's the message I was receiving. Okay, moving on. Clair Sentience, the feeling, sensings of emotions, physical feelings from spirits or people. So clear feeling. An example of how I've experienced this is actually I was recently just visiting a Masonic temple in Ohio, and while I was visiting, I was walking in the temple and I started having like pains in my like lower abdomen. And I know I'm healthy. I've been to the doctor recently and I've never had this kind of pain before. And I like honestly, I felt like I was gonna faint. Like I had this pain in my lower abdomen. I felt like I was gonna faint. The second we stepped out of that building, I didn't feel that ever again. And I was like, I honestly feel like something happened in that room that, or maybe the spirit that I was around, maybe they were like injured in some sort of way, revolving the lower abdomen. So I just think that's an interesting one. And sometimes you really got to be in tune with your body and your emotions and tapped into your own intuition to really use your discernment on whether or not do I actually need to go to the hospital right now? Or is this a spiritual, intuitive event? Is this me or is this outside of me? Especially when you're in haunted locations. Sometimes it's better step outside or have somebody walk you outside and sit with you, make sure you're okay, get some fresh air, leave the property for a minute and see if it goes away, because sometimes that's just how the spiritual world is communicating with you and you have to kind of figure out, is this real or not? When I say real, I mean, is it me in pain or is it somebody else trying to tell me something through the spiritual realm? Clear cognizance, clear knowing something without any logical explanation. Now this one I like using a lot and I often try to practice. I do see a couple videos. If you watch those videos where it's like, guess what color object I have in my hand, and they'll be like, I'm gonna post, the next video I post is gonna be revealing what's in my hand. And it's interesting when you start developing your intuition a little bit more and you are working on this ability of claircognizance, you begin to just know first thing that comes to your head what is in their hand. Even if you can't figure out exactly what it is from that moment, you will start realizing physical characteristics of the thing in their hand. Okay, we are going to test your claircognizance. Actually, we're just going to do an intuition test. What is in my hand right now? This hand. What is in my right hand right now? I want you to take a deep breath, ground yourself a little bit, okay? What is in my hand? Think about the shape. What shape is it? What color is it? Is it one color? Is it multiple colors? How big is the item? What is it used for? Is it used for anything? I want you to think about it. What was the first thing that came to your head? And I want you to trust your gut on that. Trust your gut. You can write them down in the comments. What is your guess of what's in my hand? I will reveal it to you. Give you about 5 more seconds. Think about your answer. Lock it in. All right. We're going to reveal. 3, 2, 1. A yellow tea light. Now, what colors were you getting? Were you seeing that it was a yellow tea light? Were you getting yellow? Were you getting silver? Circular? Something smooth? Let me know in the comments what you got for that. And these are little things that you can do, little exercises to kind of test your intuition. Anyway, claircognizance. I feel like claircognizance is actually just like, is very strong for me personally. Knowing things without ever being told. I can walk into a room and get information if I'm tapped in that day. I can gain information from the room I step into, and it'll connect to something some way. I know lots of things without ever being told them. First time I recognized this was when I was in a paranormal group, an investigation, and we were walking around a room, and I picked up on the name Sarah, and I didn't know that there was a room dedicated to a little girl named Sarah in the building that I was in. And later on during the tour, I found out that there was a room dedicated to Sarah. I was like, that's crazy. How did I know that? I didn't believe it. I was like, I probably made that up. I don't trust myself. But then I was like, oh no, like I knew that. I don't know how I knew that, but I knew there was a girl, Sarah, there in the spirit realm. She was there. Clair aliens, clear smelling. This one is really cool because I have this one. If you're like, I have this one. I've worked on these things for so many years. I think probably since I was in high school, since the beginning of high school, maybe even middle school, I was interested in this stuff. So I've been working on my abilities for a very long time and really staying consistent, using it in my day to day and like kind of testing my abilities as I go on throughout my days. But clear aliens, if you don't know what that is, it's clear smelling. Clear smelling. Now, here's an example that I've experienced. Driving past a graveyard and smelling funeral lilies when there is no lilies in sight. You are in your closed car, no air conditioning on, no ventilation. You're just driving in your car past the cemetery, a split second, and you smell funeral lilies. You know what I'm talking about by funeral lilies, I hope. Sometimes when I drive past nursing homes, I will also get that smell of funeral lilies or like caramel candy. With like the hard Werther's caramel candies. I will either taste it, which is technically clairgustance, or sometimes I will smell the caramel candies. Okay, this is Editing Amber again. I cannot believe that I forgot this story about Clair aliens. I was at a haunted church in the middle of the Appalachian Mountains in Tennessee with me and 3 other friends at night, and we were investigating. I started smelling burning, something burning. Nothing was caught on fire. We checked, everything was safe. We could not find the source of any sort of burning. I found out that 2 men had previously died there on the property, probably about 20, 30 feet away from me, due to being electrocuted by a telephone wire, falling to the ground and dying. And I was like, no wonder why I was smelling burning. It's like really sad. That's really sad. They were 20, I think 22 years old. Both of them were in their 20s. And it was like a long time ago. But yeah. It's like, oh, okay. Yeah, clear smelling. Another one. Here is a story. This is the whole reason why I wanted to create this video. One time, I was at Indiana State Sanatorium in Rockville, Indiana. Haunted sanatorium in the middle of nowhere. We were investigating up on the 5-story building, the Lee Allen Bryant building. I was sitting there with my friends and I got this whiff of like doctor's gloves, like latex gloves. And I was like, what? Like, this place has been abandoned for a very long time. And they hold tours there, and the owner like protects the property. But the building has not been in use for years. Why am I smelling latex gloves right now? It literally smelled like I was in an active hospital and a doctor literally just put his gloves on to enter a room. And it honestly, the energy like shifted as I smelt this. So I'm using multiple senses to like figure out what's going on. But yeah, I smelt this and I was like, guys, do you smell like latex? Like either latex, like almost like, or a balloon, a freaking balloon. Yeah, we were smelling gloves. And it was so funny because I was like, guys, do you smell that? Everyone's like, no, I don't know what you're talking about. And then like, it was like, I smelt it. The person next to me smelt it. And in like chronological order, people were smelling it around the room. And it was like a doctor was walking by or somebody was walking by and like making every single person smell this smell. So it wasn't just me who was smelling it, but I was one who was smelling it the strongest. And that's one that has happened to me multiple times at this location. So it's a clear indication that something has entered the room or something is trying to get our attention. Clear aliens is one of my favorite ones, if you couldn't tell. I'm very sensitive to smells, so I will notice when there is a smell shift in the room. Now, some of these last ones I'm not exactly sure I've heard of before researching for this video. But first, I do know this one, Clair Augustins. Clair Augustins is clear taste. So remember when I was talking about tasting like Werther's, like caramel Werther's candies when driving past nursing homes? That's a form of clairgustance. Tasting something without actually putting it in your mouth or without probable cause. Another form of experiencing this intuitively would be if you walk into a room and there's some really negative energy in there, and that negative energy comes through either Augustins, or clairalience. Whether you taste it or smell it, sometimes I will taste sulfur. And you got to be careful in that one because sometimes that can be like an actual medical issue. And I'm not a doctor. So if you consistently are tasting or smelling sulfur, get that checked out. Please, like urgently. But also, if you know that you're not normally smelling or tasting sulfur, then take that as a sign that it's terribly negative energy in there, maybe even a negative entity trying to get a hold of you or communicate with you. So I would suggest, my personal opinion, get out of there. Get out of there. Go cleanse yourself, please. Be safe. Better safe than sorry, I say. This next one I didn't know was a thing, but clair empathy, sensing emotions of others from a distance. I guess I've been doing this the whole time and didn't know there was a name for it. When you can walk by somebody and feel their emotions, I'm pretty sure that's what this is talking about, clair empathy, feeling the emotions that are not yours. But the sensing emotions from others from a distance is something I know that I've done prior. Like walking throughout the house and you can like literally feel somebody else's anger and you're like, whoa, hey, what's going on? I could feel your anger. I'm starting to get angry. I don't have a reason to be angry. What's going on? Why are you angry? You know? And they're like, how did you know that? Well, I'm literally feeling your anger, you know? Moving on, clair tangency. See, I told you, I did not know this one existed. I didn't know. We're learning together right now. Clair tangency or clear touching, obtaining info by touching objects, which, okay, this makes a lot of sense. Do you ever see those psychics or like in shows where they walk around, they're like touching, like they like touch something, they're like, Sally was here. That's how I imagine it. It's like in the movies when the psychics, or in the shows when psychics walk around, they touch different objects and then they can like tell you information that they received by touching the objects. I'm pretty sure in the Conjuring movies, like Lorraine does that. I think she does that. I think she has that ability. She will go and touch different objects and she will get like a vision. Now I'm getting all twisted. Okay, so say somebody has clairtangency and they touch an object and they get information. Say they get that through a vision. So is it using multiple clairs, or is it still clairtangency? Or is it, say they are touching something, they are getting a vision in their head? That would technically be clairvoyance. Is it clairvoyance and clairtangency working together, or is it two separate things? Someone let me down in the comments if you know what I'm trying to ask and if you have an answer for me. When using these techniques, I think is so important to not only be grounded, but be present. Be present and don't second guess what you're receiving. Write it down somewhere. Tell someone about it. Make a mental note about what you're receiving. And there's also fun ways to practice this. Like I said, we did that little test where what's in my hand, There are multiple videos on the internet if you want to test your intuition that way. I think those are always fun. Don't get too frustrated, because at first I got a little frustrated. I think it is natural. When you're not getting every single one, don't give up hope, because one day it may just click for you. I wasn't realizing that I was testing my intuition on the daily. And so one day I did one of those tests and I was like, wait a minute, I'm getting all of these right. And it's getting kind of scary. I'm like, how do I know that? How do I know that? Oh, right. I've been working that intuitive muscle, that mind's eye. Practice. It's like a muscle. Okay. Let me know down in the comments if there are any ways, any weird ways, any fun stories that you've experienced the different clairs, and how you've experienced them, how you've experienced the clairs. I would love to know more about other people's viewpoints on the clairs and how they've experienced them in their life. So please drop them down in the comments. If you've liked this video, please give it a like. Maybe give me a subscribe, help the channel out. I want to continue doing these kinds of videos, talking about these kinds of topics. And if I receive enough comments of different stories, I might just do a secondary video to this where I'm sharing those stories. So please, I want to hear from you guys. Thank you for watching.